Hello, Nedal. How are you?
Hi, Afshin. How's it going?
Good, good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining me in this episode. I appreciate it.
No problem. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. And maybe just introduce yourself and tell us about your PhD background, what the research topic was in your PhD program, and then we can move on to the next topics of like transitioning to your non-academic role. So please.
For sure. Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. Well, Nedal Marei here, PhD graduate from University of Calgary, graduated end of 2021, early 2022. Spent most of my PhD in between the chemistry department and chemical engineering department. I am a chemical engineer, bachelor, master, and PhD. My work was pretty much focused on environmental issues, including carbon capture and conversion, which was the main focus of my PhD. But back then, I was focused on implementing a new material within the electrochemical cell to convert CO2 into ethylene. I was really fascinated about some kind of material called metal organic framework, metal organic frameworks, where are pretty much this a 3D material at the molecular level that can selectively remove one molecule over others. In my case, it was focused on the carbon dioxide removal and being more selective towards this molecule over nitrogen, water, or something else. And this is what I got introduced to one of, I would say, the most interesting research groups at the University of Calgary, Shimizu Off Group. That group is very strong on the metal organic frameworks development, I would say, by developing new MOFs, actually inventing a new material. I was lucky to be part of that group. So my supervisor back then suggested that we use one of this interesting MOFs called CALF 20, which is pretty much a shortcut for Calgary framework. And that's a MOF that was invented actually at the University of Calgary and attracted lots of attention from the academic researchers and from the industry as well. And I believe it's being used right now at commercial level in some of the major companies here in Canada and also in some of the research groups in the States. Uh, that's pretty much was my PhD focus, even though it was more on the electrochemical engineering and chemistry side. I was also interested in the business side of things. So I was part of some programs at SKN School of Business. So I was really running between the three faculties at some point, engineering, chemistry, and business, taking some courses there, which led to a point to starting kind of my first startup, which I called back then terms usual, which I did not continue with because I took a different path. But that was my, I would say, my entry to the startup world, coming from engineering background and deep tech interest, I would say. And finished my PhD, worked a little bit in the academia, was teaching at the University of Calgary, and was more towards the entrepreneurship with programs with students and the university, which is an amazing experience actually, dealing with students coming from first year bachelor degrees to even last year PhD students coming up with new ideas, and I would say helping and supporting them to take this idea from their lab or from their computer to the market. And I learned a lot actually at that time, even though I was supposed to be educating. I was being educated back then, which is interesting because every time you meet new cohort, new students, new backgrounds, actually, it's very interesting the amount of things, the amount of information that you get from group of students or group of guests, and the support that you get from an organization to do some activities. It was, I would say, a very great learning experience. And by then, I was ready to take this experience to work, actually, to the actual work. So going from the theoretical entrepreneurial world, which everyone likes to talk about, as you know, the community, which is great actually, size of this. But it's great to a certain level that this theory should go into practice. We have lots of I would say theoretical information about how to start a company, how to validate the idea, how to raise fund, how to scale up, to go to a pilot, to commercialize. But if you're not in the real world, you're not going to see this. This is going to be just a nice fancy slide and a few nice wise, uh, you know, quotes on the slides. But if this is not, it's not coming to practice, it's not really that useful. So I take this opportunity to join Litus 2024, which is a startup company, and started my journey in this world of startup business, being a research engineer, then leading the technical team, and after that to my current position, which is a PhD technology. As you know, startups usually comes with, I would say, lots of work, less staff. So pretty much everyone gets to do everything. Yes, on the BB technology, but sometimes you have to do some actual lab research or some of the data analysis or some of the actual due diligence on some of the available technologies, which is actually part of the work. At the same time, I am the one who might lead one of the grants applications, or I'm the one who's supposed to explain something to one of the clients, or actually getting the business deal to understand what they want and how can we help the company, or I would say add a value to what they're trying to do. To even clean the lab sometimes with the team. So pretty much we do everything. I'm sometimes being the driver for the company. It's a startup company. So everyone here is doing their job in addition to many other tasks. Nobody really, I would say, complain about the kind of tasks. Usually the learning experience in startup companies, I would say, is very, the learning curve is very steep. Every day you are learning lots of things, lots of tasks. I believe in our company right now, everyone is expert in conducting experiments, to data analysis, to really formulate this into a business case, to dealing with clients, to being part of a grant, to project management. So learning wise, I would say it's amazing. And I've been enjoying this position here at Litus since I joined. And every time we have, I would say, new project, the fun starts from the beginning. And this is I would say, one of the exciting things being in a startup company. It's a bit different than being in academic research, like PhD. Yeah. And I've been told before that I'm not too patient. That's why my PhD, for me, at least the last 2 years, I really wanted to finish it, to do something else. I wanted to take that research into practice and go forward. It's different personalities. Some they enjoy working on long-term projects, 5, 6, 7, 10 years on the same project. I consider myself someone who likes to accomplish tasks. So a 6 month project is max for me. After that, we should start a new project. Even though there are lots of overlaps between the new projects and old projects. But I would say fresh beginnings is what keeps me going with these kind of projects that we are getting here from the industry. Anyway, this is pretty much an intro of what I've been doing for the last few years.
Oh, thank you. So you already answered a couple of questions I had, so I appreciate it.
Cool.
Thank you. So we'll get to that entrepreneurship side later on, but I'm more curious about your transition, because I know that you are a PhD, of course, and you are an entrepreneur, an educator, as you touched on briefly. So my question is more about the challenges that you see, because you yourself are a professional, so you have gone through that journey, you understand the process very, very deeply. And like I said, you are an educator as well. So what mistakes do you think, or not, maybe not mistakes, but challenges and setbacks do you think graduate students and especially PhDs face when transitioning from academia to non-academic roles? And by that, I mean, it's not just research-based jobs, non-academic jobs, maybe just consulting, maybe working in government, for example, working in nonprofits or financial institutions, and the list goes on and on. So, what challenges and setbacks have you seen PhDs typically face in that transition?
So there are lots of challenges to start with. There are challenges, I would say, directly related to the fact that you spend time doing your PhD.
Mhm.
There are other challenges that comes by default by the fact that you are, whenever I talk about PhDs or graduate students, I cannot help it but to talk about international students because there are lots of international students in the graduate studies programs for masters or PhDs. So this by itself is a challenge, not because you are a PhD, it's because you're international.
Mhm.
And of course, there's the market challenge. So pretty much three kind of challenge, if I want to summarize it. So the program that you have taken and the degree, the fact that you are coming from a different background might be not the PhD challenge, it's the whole challenge. And the time that you spent in the PhD and going to the market in, I would say, a rough time. Some would consider today as a rough time, some consider 2015 or 2014 rough time, and it was a better era, but it's always up and down. So the main challenges I would say to start with, and something we cannot ignore. Let me start with international students challenges. We tend to forget that as a newcomer to the country, even not to the country, to the city, but newcomers, international students coming here, any newcomer come with challenges. The challenge is to get in, to understand the culture, to understand the business. Everyone is asking you for a Canadian experience, and you want to understand how things are rolling in the workspaces. You want to manage your finances, and at the same time, you want to catch up. If you have language barriers, you have, I would say, even educational barriers where you do not get the right, I would say, skills for that right position, which is, I would say, requirements sometimes for Canada. So you have lots of these challenges coming just by being international. In addition to that, you have the regular human being challenges. You are missing home, you have issues in your finance, you have just being a human being, which is complicated sometimes. You already have challenges. Imagine you have challenges and you are an international student. You're not even working on a study permit. So this is challenging. Now we delay this as students. We don't get into the real challenge because we are going to studies directly. So you did not get in the market challenge for international students or international newcomers because you go into university and you forget about that. By the time you graduate, and if you're not exposed very well to the job market by then, you go back to the same challenge after 3 years, 4 years. Not because it's a new challenge, it's just something you missed because you were doing something else. You were busy doing your studies. So that was a challenge, I would say. Now, the transition, and this is, I would say, a challenge that comes before PhD. And forgive me here if I'm jumping between ideas and just saying what comes to my mind
Okay.
right
Okay.
away. Um, the challenge starts when from the moment you decide you want to go for a PhD, and that's the dilemma for most of the PhD students, including myself. There are lots of right questions or wrong questions. One of the main questions that I consider right for going towards a PhD degree is why do I need a PhD? Now, if you are saying that I want this because I want to go to academia from the beginning, then sure, this is the right path. You need a PhD. If you are going towards high-level governments in general, PhD definitely helps helps your career goals. If you are going to, I would say, high-level companies, C-level, definitely helps. Not a condition, but from my experience so far in the market, dealing with multiple CEOs, CTOs, and others, when it comes to a PhD, it's definitely helpful. And for others, they want to get in research, deep research, and that depends on the field. And they want to spend time in the scientific community and academic institutes, even without being a professor or assistant professor. And that's also right. One of the wrong questions that are being asked by students, by being asked, I mean, they're asking themselves or asking others, is it worth going for a PhD or not?
Mm-hmm.
This question for me is a wrong question, because it's not about worth or not. If it's about worth, then you're talking about how how much does it worth? Like, are you gonna get some money back after your PhD or something like that? This is different. Like, is it gonna help you in your career or not? It depends on what kind of career you are targeting. However, there's always well, there are always differences between fields. So if a chemical engineer comes and asks, what is the benefit from a PhD? It's different than when a software engineer comes and asks, what is it worth it to have a PhD? Is it really worth it or not? There's no one answer for all of this. When it comes to the science of matter, physics, chemistry, chemical engineering, is different to when it comes to computation, logic, and information, where you can really learn things and do things maybe by not being dependent on others or facilities or universities. From chemical engineering point of view, I always encourage and advise and really push students towards to go towards PhD without delay, even if they want to go to industry. For other, I would say, specialization, I've been convinced that it's not always the best option, because if you get in the industry as fast as possible, you get exposed to the real world problems of the computation, the software engineering, and anyway, back to the main point is there are lots of questions, right and wrong questions before you get to the PhD. So this is one of the main challenges to start with. Now, the challenge extends to when you think that you want to go for academic career, you want to be an assistant professor, and you want to go into associate professor, then a full professor, and this is the career goal. Then you start your PhD in year one, hoping to graduate on year five, and by year six you're a postdoc. By year seven you're an assistant professor, and etc. There are multiple challenges there that maybe by year two or year three, you are not convinced with this pattern. This is not what you're looking for, but you are in the middle for a PhD and you still want to do it, but not for this specific career path. The other challenge is that by the time you graduate and you still want to be an assistant professor, you want to join academia and everything, you graduate, especially from Canadian University, and the market is saturated with other people in the same field targeting academia. And there are no positions being opened for all of this academic, I would say, potential candidates for these positions. So yes, it's challenging. So the challenge here, if I want to summarize it from what I said so far, is the fact that you actually need to change your career path. You might be persistent and continue doing that and trying to find an opportunity, sure, but actually you'll be pushed to change what you have been planning for 6, 7 years. You made a plan that you want to start year one. By year 8, you're an assistant professor or associate professor. And at some point, this has to change. The earlier you realize this, the better. If you realize this from year 2, year 3, that's better, because by then you'll start preparing yourself. In my case, I believe I have this, I would say, transition mentality from year 1. I was open still for other, opportunities, you never know. But by year 2 to year 3, it was confirmed to me that I don't want to go to academia directly, at least. I want to spend time in the industry. I think that helped me a lot. It was challenging to admit that, you know what, I don't want to really be an assistant professor right now. I want to wait. I want to get some industrial experience. Some they they want to really be on the field research and academic research, which is great. I'm not saying it's wrong. Just saying if the opportunity is right and you have an opportunity and you know that you can do it, or you're traveling or you're finding place, that's great. Then work towards. Well, if you know that this is not what you're going to do after you graduate, then year two of your PhD should be the time where you start building your connections and start preparing yourself. And by then, I started attending lots of business classes, management classes. I started getting involved with lots of other activities. I was enjoying the research and doing all what all was needed for my research and my PhD. But at the same time, I was involved in many other projects on the side, different faculties. I got introduced to multiple startups already back then. We're starting, including the company I'm working with right now, which is, by the way, started from one of the PhD graduates, University of Calgary. So all the co-founders were the main co-founder or the main founder, CEO. She was a graduate from University of Calgary from a PhD program, and the other co-founders were professors at the University of Calgary, researchers as well. So, and I knew them back then, and I started working with them on a part-time capacity during my studies, which was, I would say, not easy because I had my research, I had my other projects I'm involved in. At the same time, I was doing some lab work for them. And this continued, this partial engagement, I would say, continued, even though my career did not take that path for another 3-4 years. I was doing something else. I graduated, I joined the university. I worked on different programs at the university. I was teaching between energy and environment and entrepreneurship. But that connection did not stop. So it's a long-term connection that was built during the university time. And it helped me to transition when the company was ready and I was ready to go fully to industry. So I joined this position. I would say then the challenge of what I was saying, sharing my experience, but the challenge for PhD students, including myself when I was at that point, is to really find that meaningful connection and something that can potentially lead to something serious later on. The thing is, PhD students are busy. You cannot deny that. And really throwing or trying different networking opportunities, different connections, without having the vision of what this connection may lead to, you have to be in a mentality that convinces you that you have to put some effort towards building that connection. I want to build this connection with this professor. I want to build this connection with this person, with this friend, with this company, without any expectations. Don't expect that it will be paid back the second day or the next week or the week after. It takes time. It may not work, actually. For me, it worked out. For many others, maybe not. But when you try or work on multiple, I would say, opportunities with the same mentality, I'm sure one of them will work. So this is one thing. In fact, I had multiple small jobs when I was doing my PhD, and that came from one of the very strong connections that I got to meet at the University of Calgary with my best friends, actually, right now. And we just chat. We met in a workshop. And that workshop, I was sitting at the same table, just coming from a lab experiments, actually. But that workshop was irrelevant to this scientific research I was conducting back then. It was more into building teams, actually, in small companies. So it was pretty much on the management leadership side, and was sitting that table, meeting everyone and chatting, and met a few friends there, and one of them, she got a few positions at the university. Then she needed some of the expertise that I have. So she offered me the job. I had the right skills, and we collaborated on a few things during that time. So building these connections, I would say, or getting in the right mentality to build these connections, is very essential for PhD students. Yeah, what else I can think of?
No, that's perfect. So you touched on so many important things. I appreciate it. And so building that networking and connection, that's extremely important. And so one of the mistakes, as
It's
you mentioned,
you're right. You're
yeah,
right, but it's like even though I said this, but whenever I hear someone talking about it, I feel it's a very generic statement. You have to network, you have to build connections and everything. Yeah, it's very generic, and everyone says the same thing. Uh, but if it stays vague the way we describe it and the way I described it, maybe it's not helpful. I think students and graduates should understand the value of this in a different way. So I don't know what's the best way actually to really encourage them to do that effectively. Just saying go network, go build connections, and the way that we describe it is not helpful. So I really hope that at some point I see, I don't know, a person, maybe you, maybe an organization, maybe a university, teaches that in a very systematic way, not just, hey, go build connections, go network in this event and have some drinks and chat and see where it goes. This is what I don't like. And I learned this the hard way here in the industrial, I would say, a space that we are living in. That this is, it helps, sure. You meet some people in an event and you forget about it. But there are many effective ways that you can do that. And I believe that's very important for students to take this initiative without waiting for anyone and start doing that. And I'm still learning. I graduated almost 4 years back, but I'm still learning a new skill every day in the networking, let's say, field or space.
yeah. So by networking, I totally agree with you. The reason I created this platform is exactly to talk about what you mentioned, to not just talk about the what, which is, let's say, networking, but the how, right? And goes back to what you mentioned about being systematic and things like that. And the reason I did a survey, a global survey, so over like 50, 60 PhDs respondent from multiple countries. It's a very global problem. It's a global challenge that even universities and these institutions where these people get their PhDs or they do PhDs, sometimes they don't have proper career training programs, or the ones that they offer such programs, they are very ineffective. And over like 60 or 70% of the respondents like mentioned that the programs are not very effective. So the the reason why I started this community is to talk about the practicality of these things. When we talk about, for example, soft skills like communication, or networking, and then problem solving, critical thinking. So these are the what and not the how, right? And we didn't create this platform just to network, in a very general basis. It's not like that. So the reason, so I also on the side created this podcast is that to talk about these things with professionals like yourself and people who have gone through this journey, and they more or less understand the how part of the equation, not just the what, right? But this is, as you mentioned, this is not something that one person can find an answer for. And different people have different points of view about these things. So but I think it's very helpful to at least talk about these things by sharing our insights, our experiences. As you mentioned, these things can be different for different fields. For example, we talk about science, engineering, right? And then we have economy, we have finance, we have, I don't know, psychology. So when we talk about PhDs, we're not just talking about science and engineering. We are talking about all sorts of, fields that are available out there. So, but I appreciate it. You mentioned something very important, that being practical is very important, and talking about the how, and talking about the nuances and details and things like that. But do you have something to add here, or I can ask the next question?
I may add just last things since I criticized the way that we talk about connections and networking. I did not really add a value there, maybe I may add a few tips here. First of all, to start with, for people who think that this is a generic statement, whatever, this is actually working from my personal experience, from others. Yes, working connections actually working if it's not the only way to make it work.
Mhm.
The other thing I wanted to add, there are many strategies to do to have an effective networking and connections within the field, whether you're talking about conferences, events, and others. And I will give you just pretty much small tips that I got when I was studying, actually. And I learned from one of the other students that they were actually doing very good in this. Number one is you never go to an event or to a place without targeting 3, 4, 5, 6 people you want to talk to in advance. And you do your search before you go. But I remember that person, a colleague of mine, we went to the conference. He did not talk except to 6 people or 7 people, and he had them on a paper before he went there. Each one with the topic that he want to talk to and the action items, the follow-up items, and what to do. He came back with like 3 or 4 X's, like he had an X beside their names, except 3 people, and he followed up with them almost on weekly basis for 2 months or 3 months. And he started by asking for an advice. To start with, like it was not his first experience, but asking for a job directly or for a connection directly or for a favor directly is not going to work. Start by asking for an advice, asking for some help, asking for some feedback. And he contacted 3 of them. He sent them his resume, asking for some feedback. It's smart, actually, because you give the people the feel that they're helping you, that feel that they have a purpose of helping you, which is true. It's not a lie. It's actually true. And at the same time, you want to show that you are a good mentee, because if they are trying to mentor you indirectly and you are listening, that's actually helpful for them and for you. At the same time, you gave them an exposure to your resume, to your experience, to your skills. And if they are nice and helpful and they have the time to help with that, that's I would say, an effective first step. And it happened to me. I reached out to people on LinkedIn. I remember reached out to people on LinkedIn when studying. Many people, many they did not respond back then. Actually, one of them, he said, "Say hi to your professor," and he did not even respond after. But others actually very helpful. They asked for a cup of coffee, and we went for coffee, and they reviewed my resume, and they introduced me to people for a specific, like some when they are in an industrial position or a position where they can actually introduce you to people or at least push your resume somewhere, they actually can do that. And one of them, from my personal experience, actually introduced me to 2 people and specifically said that Nedal is about to graduate and he's in this field and might be helpful in this and that. So reach out to LinkedIn. Don't be generic. Don't use generic words. Don't use the lengthy emails and the ChatGPT style long emails with no purpose. Be concise. Try to customize your communication ways, whether it's a text or phone call, whatever. Don't use the generic words all the time. I hope you are doing well. I've heard about the company. You're doing great. Don't sugarcoat the things. Okay, just be straightforward. Well, don't quote me on this. Maybe some people will like sugarcoat, but for me, I prefer the direct communication style.
Very tailored. Yeah, you do your research, you follow up, right? Because as you mentioned, sometimes people just send a message or they meet someone at an event and then they don't follow up just one time. And then if they don't hear back or things like that, they don't follow up. So, so the way that we need to think about this career transition is long term, should be long term, right? So it's not like a quick win. in most cases, it's not, unless you have had, as you mentioned, exposure to industry, for example, during your PhD, or things that you personally did in a very smart way, and as you pointed out, taking, for example, some additional courses like business courses, preparing your mentality, your mindset about this transition. That okay, you know, thinking that my first non-academic role may not be just research based, maybe just business related, maybe just entrepreneurship, right? Do I know about sales? Do I know about marketing? As you mentioned, maybe writing grants, fundraising, for example, starting a company for myself. Do I have that mentality and mindset or not? I'm just thinking about research or working in the lab or writing, code, programs and things like that. So this is a mentality shift. And in this platform we created, basically we want to talk about that. We need a mindset shift for PhDs because to my experience, in most cases, we are looking for those quick wins, right? And short-term gain. And we don't think long-term.
Which is no problem, except in some cases
Some
and
cases, yes.
sometimes,
Yeah.
or some, I would say, time frames does not work. If you're looking for a quick win in going, meeting someone and get a job the second day, sure. But if you are doing this after graduation and you're looking for a job and you are living in that stress and you're just hoping to go meet people and get a job the second day,
Mm-hmm.
in most cases, it's not going to go.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's the thing. So the PhD students, PhD candidates delay that thing to after graduation because they're too busy just writing papers, for example, or doing their research, but they don't think
True.
about the day after graduation because in most cases they will lose their stipends, for example, their salary they get from the university, their scholarship, right? And then
It's true. Yeah.
yeah, they find themselves with no salary, nothing, at least the minimum amount that they were getting from the university, from their PhD, from their supervisor. But the day after, and sometimes even getting a postdoc position is very challenging. I've seen people, waiting for over a year to land their first postdoc position, not to mention their non-academic industry position, for example, or a consulting position. So, and what's your advice for PhD students other than things that you mentioned about networking? So maybe we can touch more on that
Yeah.
mentality shift, maybe that, they need to prepare themselves mentally for these things because thoughts, shape our actions, right? And then actions shape our results. So maybe we can elaborate
Yeah.
on that part a little bit based on your experiences.
So, well, we are still on the challenge, so which actually can take us hours. It's really just one.
Okay.
If I'm to put the challenge or the challenges, summarize it in one challenge, it's the challenge of ourselves understanding our mentality. Honestly, it's understanding what we want to do, and it takes time. And being a PhD candidate and spending time PhD studies, it's actually for the doctor of philosophy. You start developing that philosophy of should I go this direction or this direction, this direction? What is the impact of this direction? So it takes time. This is the main challenge, actually, understanding where am I heading after
Mhm.
tomorrow. Yes, there are a few circles in the PhDs, some weeks or months where you get stuck in the same circle doing that research, but you certainly think about the next step all the time, trying to understand what I like better. It takes time. Yeah, there's no shortcut.
Mhm.
Okay. Even if you see people and you try to follow their path, there's no shortcut. You're gonna have to learn the right way. In my case, I reached a point where I understood that I spent enough time in the lab, for example. I started doing research in the lab since 2011, third year of my bachelor degree.
Mhm.
By 2020, after 9 years, so I did my bachelor, then my master, then I was finishing my PhD. That's almost 9 years in research experience, being in the lab, conducting experiments and everything. At that point, for me, I did not see much of learnings at that point. I don't want to say learnings. much of interest coming from my side. I was not interested to know more. 9 years of doing lots of things, even though lots of equipment, lots of testing. As you know, research every day, no surprises. It's never boring, to put it this way. But I reached a point that, you know what, I'm done. I don't want to do the lab work. I'm interested more in data analysis. And I made peace with it. Ups and downs. 1 week I am interested to go to the lab. The second week, no, it's not. Until I convinced myself, no, I am more into data analysis right now, and I want to understand how to make decisions from the data and be more skillful in actually analyzing data at larger scale. By larger scale, it means different for computer engineering versus chemical engineering versus others. But for my field, this is what I tend to go. So that challenge of understanding where you want to go, spend some time with it. Actually, like think about it 1 week, 2 weeks, but make a decision and stick to it and move forward. I don't stick for 3 years, or don't get stuck for 3 years just thinking about what you want to do. For a theory, just like any other hypothesis of research, with a few hypotheses and start working on, let's say, finding the right one based on the facts that you are getting every day. For example, you have 3 hypotheses or 3 theories or 3 career paths. You want to go academic, you want to go industry, you want to go only research. Okay, then you start collecting facts. Fact number 1, that academic positions are very, very, very limited where you are in Canada. Okay, sure. Are you willing to move? Yes. If yes, where? And where should I apply? Should I start applying right now? If no, then the whole career path is a no, most likely. So jump into the industry or jump into the other research career. That's what I'm thinking. So build the whole scenarios, which cannot come like a tree. And after that, you start eliminating options, because some options, it will require some sacrifices that you won't be able to handle at that time and age. Maybe yes. Some people are interested to stay here. They want to get their PR, they want to get their passport, they want to stay here, they want to build a family, they want to move. Or some people, they want to move back. They just want their PhD. They have a guaranteed job, just like many others coming with a grant from their countries, and they want to go back and teach their work there, which is, again, valid reason. There's no wrong or right, but there is hesitation. And that hesitation is what delays the process. Add to that, there's this feeling that comes to graduate students or others, that you look at others and you see many people, they look like they figured it all, like they know what they want to do. And you feel like, oh my, everybody knows what they want to do except myself. No, believe me, 80% to 90% of what you see is they are still trying to figure it out. So it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So take your time and it's okay. And some people, they get different opportunities, or you get an opportunity that many others don't get. Just hang in there and try to figure out actually what you like and what you don't like. By that, I mean, you are not looking for the dream job or something, because every job has its pros and cons. But what I'm saying there is, pick your fights. Pick the things that you can sacrifice and the things that you cannot sacrifice. Things that you can live with, things that you cannot live with. Yes, spend time understanding what you want to do also.
Mm-hmm.
And talk to people. Talk by that, I mean, I don't talk to people, not necessarily new people. Share what you think.
Mm-hmm.
Reach out to action, to reach out to people who actually went through this, and they figure it out at some point, or at least partially. I would say this is very, very important. Yeah, don't be just moving between servers.
Basically,
Even
take
go for it.
action, right?
Yeah.
Get used to, taking action, and not just, over planning or just thinking what I'm gonna do in the future, just by taking action, because the path
Take a
becomes
decision first. Yeah. Take
clear.
a decision, then the action. That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so the path becomes clearer as when you take action, right? Like rather than just being like passive, right? Being proactive, thinking and taking action, and like you mentioned, talking to people. It's very reaching out, talking to people. No, I truly appreciate it. So we are nearing the end of the conversation, but let's talk about your current role, and because you are on a leadership role as well. Of course, you're at the beginning you mentioned that you have to wear multiple hats, right? It's not just leading people, but maybe helping even in the lab and other things. Can you please elaborate more on the leadership, communication, soft skills that you use on a daily basis, basically, to do your job? And because the topic is about PhDs and transferable skills, maybe that we can bring from our PhD to non-academic roles. Can you please explain a bit about that part, how those soft skills, transferable skills, if any, have helped you in your current role?
Of course. Well, to start with, as a PhD graduate and many other PhD graduates, what I've seen in the market so far in the industry, and this is actually good news that I've seen many PhDs in a leadership position.
Mhm.
My company, other companies, startups, and actually large companies of the executive level coming from PhD programs.
Mhm.
I believe being in the PhD programs and the capability of leading yourself and your project and sometimes some other team members pretty much prepares you to lead afterwards. I've met many team leads actually. They're all coming from our department or different departments coming from PhD programs. To start with, you can lead in different ways. I don't want to get into leadership theories and so this is natural or this is something you learn. I believe you can learn it. And I believe there's also a natural, I would say, leadership skills that comes from the person, from their lifestyle, from the environment, from their families, from the street, from whatever they get it from. There are others, theories, and skills that you can learn. And to start with, I would say to be able to lead, and this is my theory in the technical fields in engineering science, number one thing is going to be your knowledge. If you're not knowledgeable enough, if you are not aware of what's happening within the field, within the company, within the technology,
Mhm.
it's going to be harder to lead because people around you it's going to be harder for them to believe in you, that you understand actually what you are saying. Similar to have a business person trying to lead a technical team of 5 PhDs. Okay, they talk visions and imagination, not even understanding the basic science of what they are talking about. So if you are leading in an industrial position that's related to a technical, I would say, project or technical company, you have to have the knowledge. And by that, if you don't know the exact, I would say, tasks that you're working on a day-to-day basis, you have to really spend time learning more and adding to your experience. That would give you, I would say, the blessing of the team that he knows or she knows what they are talking about. Okay, now you got their ears. Now you're going to start talking. When you start talking, you need to understand that each one in front of you is coming from different backgrounds, even though they have the same degree, but different background in research, different way of thinking, and different way in reacting to things. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. And this comes to the leadership styles, how you want to lead your team. But in general, understanding the team's background is very important. So to start with, I would say go through their, if you are new, go through their resumes, understand what they do. Spend one-to-one time with each one of them, understanding where they come from. By that, where they come from what kind of scientific background or technical background, or what they want to do. Where do they actually? And this is not an interview question. Where do you want to be in 5 years? No. What are they thinking? What they want to do? What's something they like to do? to start with. And by that, you gain some confidence from the team that, okay, that this person, the leader, is now aware of what am I doing and what is my plan for the next 2 years or 3 years. At the same time, a leader confidence, I would say, is very important. It's not like we have this say back home that one word takes you and the other word gets you back. So you don't want to be in between, just anyone say something and you react directly. You don't want to react. You just want to be calm, understand, and develop that sense of wisdom. I'm not saying I'm wise or even sure if it's wise, but more experienced, I would say, from the incidents and I would say the activities that comes within the studies and after the studies, you start developing this kind of calm, reactive way to things. People come to you, they wanna report about an issue, whether successful, correct, incorrect, and you wanna absorb, you wanna think about it, you wanna talk to them about it later on without any overexcitement or over optimism. At the same time, you don't want to put them down simply because you know what would be the consequences in the near future. I've learned many of this in the university, actually, different courses. I've attended many leadership courses. I've actually worked with many leaders. By that, I mean professors at the University of Calgary, because each one of them has different leadership style, from very strict to very open to very hands-off to, I would say, 3 to 4 different with management and leadership. And there's, as people always say on LinkedIn, there's a difference between management and leadership. For me, if you want to be a leader, you should be a manager first, then you lead. But if you're a leader without a management, without any management skills, it's not going to work. It's going to be just a nice title. So if I'm to put it, every leader is a manager, but not every manager is a leader. But definitely management skills is something that everyone should take from the PhD work. I think the logical development and progress for any PhD graduate in any position is to start leading teams, to start creating teams from one person to 100 to 500 people. And that always comes with the PhD program. So if you are a student already studying PhD, if you get any intern or any visiting students or any new students and you give the chance to supervise, to manage their projects, manage their research, and make sure that everything is being delivered on time and everything that comes with it, that would be the start. And after that, some courses, management courses, be open for feedback from those you're managing, because that helps. Get some feedback from those who are managing you, because this is also important.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, if you're a PhD and you're working right now, or you're a student and you're about to start working, I believe that the target should be is to lead in your position at some point. Not now, not tomorrow, maybe the day after, but at some point there will be a fresh generation coming with fresh skills, doing the exact technical work that you're doing in a very short time. So your value becomes more than just doing the technical work, will become actually managing and overviewing the technical.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not an option. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So what courses did you take? Like leadership courses? Like was it about like general leadership, or it was more toward like business side?
So I've taken multiple courses. There was I don't have the exact names, but I can maybe share it later with you. But I remember the titles of the courses. One of them was creating small teams in startup companies. The other ones was management skills, time management skills, and managing tasks on a critical path for projects. Leadership styles. And I've read a little bit back then when I was in the educational side, but I got exposed to many other leadership styles from different organizations as well. So the leadership styles, leadership theories, psychology at workplace for sure. That helps understanding your own psychology, and a little bit about others is more complicated than myself. But there are a few simple things that you could understand, I would say, easily. So yeah, psychology at workplace was very important. Um,
For example,
project
influencing people or talent management, were the things in these courses as well, like influencing people, managing talent, and persuasion and things like that.
there, one of the courses included this, but for me it was not the main focus. It was focused honestly for me to the different ways that you can lead by only influencing or by actually being part of the work and actually lead the work, the progress. I was focused more on the managing side of things, on the delivering large projects or multidisciplinary projects. This is very important. By itself, it does not say as leadership, the work leadership, but by itself, if you can manage that, you will be leading multiple teams from different backgrounds. And I believe the world right now is it's already shifted towards this kind of interdisciplinary programs and industrial way of doing things, where you put multiple backgrounds, team of multiple backgrounds, and they're all working on the same project at the same time, same focus. And you want someone to be aware of at least something from each of those backgrounds, not everything, but knowing something from A, B, and C, and trying to align the scope between all of them. Because you are in that position that you understand a few things from electrical engineering, from chemical, from this and that, from management, from business, people start reaching out to you simply because you are the connection point between this team. Why would I talk directly to that person if I need to explain everything while I have this person that can do it in 1 minute? I would say this is another thing that it's not an option anymore. You have to be that person. Being in just one box is not enough anymore. Even though for some positions it's amazing. I've seen people very successful working in the lab, and you talk to them about business or meeting clients, they will tell you, I am a lab person. I do everything you need and even more, and exceed their expectation better than anyone else, which they are right. But in general, right now with this whole AI era, which is my field, but it opens lots of capacity and capability for everyone to do lots of things and many things at the same time. So you have to catch up, you have to know, and you have to spend time. Believe me.
So to that point, so where do you think PhDs can make the biggest impact outside academia over the next decade? Is that AI, or you have some other things in mind for that?
PhDs in management. That's the
Management?
impact they will make. They should go management. That's my perspective. Many others will say, no, why did you do the PhD if you want to learn all the technical skills and go deep? And sure, yes, that's exactly why you'll be the best in management, because you understand deeply the technical aspects of the projects that you're working on. And you have the capability to lead multiple projects at the same time. And at the same time, you can understand the results faster than others or than many others. So why would you just spend that time in doing the technical work where you can get exposed to larger amount of data coming from your technical work or lab or experiments or simulation or whatever? That's my perspective. Maybe some others disagree or agree with me, but that would be what I see PhDs. And it's actually in practice. Like you see this in practice alone. Successful, not successful, this is a personal thing. It depends on your interpersonal skills, what professional skills you have developed, what other things that you have done, the way you deal with your team, and the way you deal with your projects or time management. 100%. Okay? But I would rather see a PhD who graduated and worked in the industry for 1, 2, 3 years, then got a management role. Because overall, you will see that depth in knowledge. At the same time, I would say the ability to process faster of what they're expert in the technical side. And when you bring them instead of 1 point of technical data, bring them 100 without their need to generate this data, but they have to analyze it only. This is what they are designed to do. They are designed to read data, analyze, criticize, and at some point they'll be supervised. Oh, even if you are going academia, you're expected to advise students, which is a leadership role. So PhD, if you are at that point, you should be ready to manage and or lead.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And so maybe the last question here. So I typically ask this question from people. So what does innovation look like in an industrial setting compared with the university lab, for example? So doing a research at academia and making a product. What's the difference between the innovation in academia and in industry, for example, if there is any difference, basically?
I would say not much of a difference, except that you have more capacity in the academia for sure, especially if you're working on a grant or some fund, or you have the time. So you have the time, you have the fund, and you have more space to innovate and come up with something new to explore. In industry, sometimes there is R&D department pretty much in every company, but a general rule of thumb that these R&D departments are working on solving specific problems with the current processes or the current technologies that they have. It's not kind of an exploratory way of discovering things. It's more of actually targeted research to solve a problem 1, 2, 3. This is good. So it's very effective, and at the same time, it gets you to the application right away. So what we have here in the lab, and this is something I like to brag a lot. So whenever someone comes to visit us, we have a lab, and after the lab, we have a pilot unit and a warehouse. Everything we do in the lab can be transferred to the scale to the larger scale unit the second day. You don't have to wait. You don't have to go through all the verification processes and the approvals, and you have to study the experiment at bench scale, understand the factors, see the results. The second day, it can go to the large scale and being tested. So this is one of the good things. I believe universities are doing very well, actually. All the programs available, trying to bridge the gap between academia and industry, I think are being successful.
So my question, let me clarify. I mean, my question was more towards like scalability, as you kind of like touched on. So because a lot of research we do in academia, they remain in academia. They never get to like industry. They become just publications and then that's it. But in industry, in innovation side, it has to be scalable because you want to make a product, you want to make money. You are a business, right? So what are your experiences based on that, on the scalability side of doing research or innovation in industry?
I think both are important, to be honest. Like as much as I like to say, no, it should be the industrial way and scale up, and if it's not scalable, it should not start from the beginning, but you will never know. So both are important. The ability, and yes, in the industry, the ability to scale up is faster because they have to. So we have to. If you have something in the lab and you have technology, if it does not scale up within the timeline that you provide, it's worthless. It does not do anything. In the universities, you have the space to innovate, even though you don't have to scale up the second day. Definitely, it has to have the potential to scale up. But maybe somebody else will scale it up for you. Maybe a company, maybe a collaboration with industry. Maybe that research or that innovation will just be enough for somebody else to pick it up from there and go. So what I'm saying, it is important to have that scalable potential from the beginning. but it does not hurt. There are many other technologies, many patents that did not go on it. Sure. Out of 1,000, if there are 5 ideas that has this scalable potential, and another company came and got the, I would say, exclusive rights for this patent, and they scaled up and they started a company out of it, that might pay back for the full 1,000 patent expenses that were, I would say, invested in before. So it does not hurt. However, if from the beginning this whole innovation and research does not have any way to go forward, that should not be there. So at least what it should be, there should be the imagination and the vision of where this could lead. Without, like, if you're a student, a PhD student or a master or graduate student, then you have 3-4 years to do the project. Okay, you're not expected to build a pilot. Maybe you're well, or not every PhD is expected to build a pilot unit from their technology. Maybe somebody else will finish the job, or another PhD student. So that's why, as all of us know, you go there and you find some work, incomplete work from another PhD student, so you keep going. But if this is not the vision from the beginning, that someone will take it and continue, and this is just an innovation that does not lead anywhere, then for sure that should be reconsidered. But overall, I think universities are doing good. Even though when you're a student, you complain about everything about. But on the big picture, you are contributing to something, and this something may be useful for you or others in different communities. So being part of this big picture is something we should understand when doing the grad studies. It's not always about what are you getting paid for, or what are you getting paid back from this project. It's where did you contribute, and where will this go later on, and we still might be part of it maybe.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. And that was my last question. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about?
No, I would like to apologize for talking a lot, but
That's good. No, we covered a lot of topics. I truly appreciate it. And I know how busy you are with your current job and some other things. I truly appreciate you taking the time.
thank you so much, Afshin. I'm happy to contribute to other
Th-
opportunities, the scientific community, PhD communities, or other graduate students communities as well.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Bye.
Thank you.